Okay, so welcome back. This is part 2 of tracing a photo in Illustrator. So I've added a few more lines for the face, and now I'm going to turn my attention to the eyes, right? So let me zoom in here. It's always good to get in close. All right, I'm going to switch to the pencil tool. The N key on the keyboard is a shortcut for the pencil tool. And so I'm just going to click and drag. And I've got my pencil set to a very smooth setting. It's not going to be very accurate. It's going to be much more consistent and smooth. And you do that again by double clicking the pencil. You can get that fidelity setting. I've got that basic shape in place. In fact, remember, if you don't make it smooth enough the first time, there's a smooth tool. You may have to add this to your toolbox, but that smooth tool will let you kind of click and drag over a selected path and smooth it out a bit just by clicking and dragging along it. So if it wasn't smooth enough, you can make it more smooth with the smooth tool, right? Okay, so let's use the width tool again. Shift W is the shortcut for the width tool. And so I can click on, say, this end of the eyebrow and make it thicker, and this end and make it a little thinner, right? And I want that edge to be rounded, so I'm going to come over here to the stroke in the properties, click on the word stroke, and then give it a round cap, like so. See that? Okay, good. Now, let's draw the eye. This is a bit tricky. And you know, I'm gonna switch back to the curvature tool. Shift and the tilde key is the shortcut for that. And like it, you know, the program thinks I'm still drawing the eyebrow, so I may have to hold down the command key and click off of it to deselect it. See that? Command click or control click off to deactivate that current path. All right, so let's draw this eye. So remember that curvature tool allows you to click from point to point. Oh, and look at this. It's thinking that I want to draw with the last settings, right? So I need to come back over here to my stroke, right? And essentially take this profile back off. See that? Make it uniform again, right? Because like if you're using a profile, you can actually, you know, use the width tool and create a profile and save it here. But you may have to like put it back to uniform. And I'm going to set it back, and you know, I'm going to set the weight back down to a reasonable size, like 1 point. Okay, so let's see if we can continue here. Now, this is a corner, right? And so I've got a choice. I could like keep going if I wanted a smooth edge, or let's see if I want to make it straight. I'm going to double click there to make a corner, right? And like after you draw with the curvature tool, remember you can double click a point to turn it into a corner. See that? I'm going to undo that. Let me show you a little closer, right? If you double click, it turns it into a corner. And in fact, you can use the curvature tool to edit these points. If they're not quite right, you can reposition them a bit. Right? Okay, so now let's draw the iris inside. Let's hit the L key to get the ellipse tool. And remember, if we're going to draw from the center out, we want to hold down Alt or Option. And if we want a perfect circle, we're going to hold down Shift. Now, I'm going to make this a little bit larger because I want to show you that, like, if I want this ellipse to be inside that shape at some point, I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I can always adjust its size later. So we're going to create a clipping mask to put this circle inside the shape of the eye. All right, so it's kind of tricky, but you can do it. All right, so I'm going to get the selection tool. Now, if you're going to put one shape inside the shape of another, then layer order is important, right? And so let's take a look at that. In fact, let me just give this thing a basic black fill so we can see it a little better. All right, so if I select both of these shapes and go to the object menu and choose clipping mask, make. Shortcut for that is Command 7 or Control 7 on a PC. All right, what it did was it took the object that was lower in the layer order and placed it inside the object above, right? So we need just the opposite, right? We need to put the iris inside the cornea. So I'm going to undo that and come over here to my layers panel and expand those, expand this layer that I'm drawing on. And you can see here, I've got the ellipse and I've got the path for the eye. Okay, so what I need to do is I'm going to click on that ellipse and drag it below the eye path. See that? Okay, so now we're ready, right? So once again, they're both selected, object, clipping mask, make. Okay, this time it did put it inside my my path, but now the shape that's acting as the envelope is being hidden, right? Which is that's cool, but in this case I want to have that object still visible. So a good idea when you're creating a clipping mask and you want both shapes to still be seen is to duplicate the enclosing shape. So one more time, I'm going to undo that. And the path for the outline of the eye, I'm going to duplicate that. And if you hold down Option or Alt in your layers panel, you can click on a layer and drag it and to duplicate it. So now I've got two of them, one below, one above, right? Okay, so now, did you know also over here in the layers panel, you can click on this little circle out here and it will select that object. And if I want to select both the ellipse and that eye path, I can shift click them both. See that? They're both selected now. And over here I see they're both selected, but I still have my original path I've copied and put below. So they're both selected. Object, clipping mask, make. Command 7 is the shortcut. All right, so now it's placed the iris inside. I'm going to get the direct select tool, the A key, and click on that iris. And I'm going to go back to my properties and I'm going to get rid of that stroke color. There we go. All right. So let me zoom out a little here, see what we've got. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate the eye and the eyebrow to the other side of my drawing. Right. Let me zoom in a touch here. Okay, so I'm going to select the entire eye group. And in fact, you know what? Let's make it a group because I've got that clipping mask, makes a clipping group over here. See it? It's made up of both of these things. But I've also got this path that I want to move with it. So I'm going to shift click that radial button in the layers panel also. So now all of that selected. What's a shortcut to group? Command G. Now the whole thing is grouped. Good. Now I'm going to shift click the eyebrow and reflect it to the other side. O will reflect if I click right on the center line here and hold down Option when I do. Option click or Alt click. Right, so now it's reflecting over here. and I'm going to hit copy. There we go. All right, now, one of the good things about creating a clipping group in this instance is that the eyes look a little bit cross-eyed. Again, if I get the direct select tool, the white arrow, you can see I can move this inside that clipping mask. All right. And move the eyes so they don't look, this is not a good look, if you can help it. So let's move those eyes a little bit so they look a little more natural. Okay. Get the idea? All right. Now, finally, I'm going to draw the hair with the pen tool. I'm going to hit the P key on the keyboard. And now the pen tool, again, it really helps to zoom in. You click and drag to do curves with this tool, right? And in fact, it's actually drawing with a fill here. Let me quickly go to my properties here. Let me just get rid of that fill and give it a basic stroke. Okay, so you're clicking to add an anchor point and dragging handles out. Now you can just click from point to point with this thing to make straight lines, but its real advantage is that you can click and drag to make a very precise curve. Now with this tool, when you get to a corner, if you click that last anchor point, it gets rid of that lead handle. The handles are what make it curve. And now I can click and drag. This is going to be a corner also, so I click it to get rid of that lead handle and click and drag to make curves, right? You see those handles coming off of it. That handle is how you control that curve. And this one kind of comes to a point, so I'm going to click it to get rid of the lead handle. Come down here, this curves. That's a corner, so I'm going to click it. Now don't worry, I'm going to give you another lecture just on the pen tool, but this is kind of how it behaves. Click and drag to make curves, or click to make click from point to point to make corners, or click and drag to make them smooth. And click once to get rid of the lead handle if you want that to come to a point. Okay, so this is going behind the face. I'm going to zoom out a little bit for now. And pick back up here on the other side. It takes practice, but once you get it down, it'll be your best friend. Right? Click from point to make straight lines. Click and drag to make curves. And the fewer twists and turns, the farther apart you can put those anchor points. The closer they come, you have to click and make more points to navigate. So it's kind of a Zen art. You'll get it. It's not the most user-friendly tool in the world, but you'll get it. Okay, so there's the basic outline. I'm going to switch back to the pencil tool to do the bangs here. Oops, ran out of space there. I'm trying to do this with my trackpad. Yeah, let me try that again, and I'm going to use my stylus. And I'm just going around the face and the ears there. Okay, just to add those bangs and kind of frame the face. So now I'm going to switch to the selection tool, select the hair. Well, in fact, here, let me start in with the face, give it a basic fill. Let's do the hair. And, you know, as long as the bangs and the outline of the hair are the same color, you don't have to unite them necessarily, but you can if you need to. Okay, and so now this needs to be behind the face, so I'm going to hit Command, Shift, and the left bracket key. Oops. Like so. But the bangs need to be in front, so Command, Shift, and the right bracket key. Oh, hang on. I had them both selected. Right, you got to get the layer order right. Okay, and so now the bangs can't have that fill on the stroke, so I'm going to get rid of that color on the stroke. All right, so I'm going to pause here and add the neck. So if you wanted to kind of cut the face with the bangs, what you could do is select the face and the bangs like that. And remember, Shift-M is the shortcut for the Shape Builder tool. If you hold down Option or Alt, you can subtract, you know, the objects that are not overlapping, right? So that way now I've got, you know, the hair and the face separate. If I needed that, I don't necessarily need it, but sometimes it simplifies things. All right, so I'm just going to very quickly use the pen tool to create a highlight, right? So I'm just coming along the edge here, just clicking point to point and coming outside like so. All right, and so I'm going to fill that with white and get rid of the stroke. And I'm going to change the transparency, like the blending mode. Go to the transparency panel, go to the blending mode, and I'm going to choose something like overlay. Okay. And now I've got this bit overlapping here. If I shift click the hair and that shape, I can now use the Shape Builder tool, hold down Option, and click through those areas that I don't want. I missed one there. Oh well, close enough. All right, so and over here I can use the pen tool again. Just gonna click a few points, maybe make this one a little more curvy. You do again have to watch like where you click, because you can kind of inadvertently add, like start drawing on existing shapes that you don't want to modify. Okay, this one I'm going to change the color to like a light brown. And once again, go to the transparency panel and change that blending mode to something like multiply to make a shadow. Right. So let's see. We're going to once again get the selection tool and shift click. Well, in fact, I'm going to click and drag through all of this to make sure, because there are multiple shapes being selected there. I'm going to get the Shape Builder tool, hold down Option, and click and drag through the areas that I want to get rid of. Get the idea? So drawing basic shapes for shadows and highlights, changing the blending mode in the transparency panel can be really handy. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell, right? get a photo, put it on its own layer, create a template layer, lock it, add a new layer above it, and try these drawing tools. See what you can do. Okay? Well, I wish you the best of luck. It's a great skill to have. Keep practicing. You're going to get there. All right. I'll see you later.